Namaste. Welcome to Mind Body Retreat Zavita. My name is Stefan, Yoga Steph. I'm going to take you through yoga poses in this series. This one is bridge pose. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to open the chest safely and effectively work the core in this pose. We activate the thyroid gland somewhere about here in the body. It's a very important junction for balancing the regulation of hormones in the body, you know, in between the brain and the heart. So a communication center for the body, making that balance happen. Opening the chest, creating great volume in the breathing. Every time you take a breath, it's going to be a beneficial one. And back bending, hey, you know, that's like posing for life. In our lives, where we spend so much time hunching forwards, naturally the shoulders want to roll forwards. It's just a little bit easier, right? When we open the chest out, we're just setting up great posture for the rest of the time. Back bending, really nice thing to have in your life. Even if you only just do this pose alone for a few breaths, you can try and include it in your morning routine, maybe when you're waking up, or maybe at the long end of a long day, maybe in the middle of a long yoga practice. That would be nice as well. Okay, so I'm going to set it up by laying on the back. The knees stay at shoulder width distance apart, imagining that there was a block in between the knees. And then I'm going to bring my heels back to these fingertips here so that I can line it up. Checking that the heels are just outside of the hips so that I can see them. And then, you know, if I want to measure this the first few times I do it, a couple of fists in between those knees. Just making sure that we maintain this distance and the action of rolling the knees in. And then as you inhale, really gently, start to feel what it's like just to lift up the hips a little. Take a breath there. When you're starting out in yoga, the feeling is something that deepens very quickly. So we can tend to overdo the postures. So it's really nice to just kind of give it a feel, have a breath. Maybe even practicing before that point you can feel it. A lot of the time we feel the postures on the way out, especially with back bending. So after you've just given it a little warm up like that, you can maybe deepen a little bit, crawl in the feet closer or take in the back closer. There's options when we get up there to modify with the hands to open the shoulders up a little bit more. We can press down into the big toes, the knees naturally roll in, and then we're inhaling to lift up the hips. And maybe as you push a little higher, you start to feel the sensation in your lower back. Now, this is a signal. As soon as you feel it in your lower back, try to roll the knees in towards one another so that you feel it as much, if not a little bit more, in your thighs. Now, I'm going to talk facing upwards as I go deeper into the back bend. And you can practice here for 5 to 9 breaths, just maintaining that awareness and balance of the body, of the upper and lower body, that important and mystical junction in the hips, where the upper body meets the lower body, is stable, supported by pressing down the big toes and rolling the knees together. The chest is opening, but the sensation isn't so much in the low back. It isn't so much in the legs. It isn't so much in the chest. It's kind of spread evenly amongst all of these key areas. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep looking upwards and interlace the hands underneath, and then gently and carefully roll the shoulders down and underneath the body, away from the ears. And now I can use this as a lever to press into the ground and open the chest a little bit more, especially on the inhales. Using the breath to fill the lungs and naturally increase the opening of the chest. Exhaling, I'm maintaining the depth without the tension. Now, like I said, exiting, really important, so we don't want to rush. Leaving the pose is just as important as the time we spend in it. So very slowly, as I exhale, I'm lengthening my spine. I'm pulling my spine by pulling the hips away from the crown of the head so that it lengthens. And then the top of the spine comes down first, the middle, and then the lower as I unroll the spine little bit by little bit. There's a little flow we can take on this. As we inhale, raising the arms up, pressing the feet down. And then exhaling, bringing the hands down, bringing the spine down in that rolling action. Inhaling. And exhaling. So that you know as the arms move slowly, so do the vertebrae of the spine. And if I find that my back comes down way before my hands do, I know that I'm kind of rushing out of it. So you can flow with this, you can hold it up for 9 breaths, but if you're holding, try not to go too deep. Nowhere that stops you breathing. Have the fullest, most enjoyable breath through the asana. And remember, when you come down, slowly lowering. Take the legs out long. Have a little rest in Shavasana if you're done with your practice. Alternately, you can have a look at one of our other videos, seated forward fold, as a counter posture to this pose, so that when we bend backwards deeply and forwards deeply without strain, just to the edge of our own limitations, you'll notice that that changes day to day. So try to practice regularly and try to bend forwards and definitely backwards at least once a day, supported by that squeezing action of the knees and connection in the core.